I thought I was a beta my whole life, until an encounter with two alpha brothers changed everything. I always thought I understood myself. For 25 years, I believed I was a beta. Average scent, average pheromones, average life. Betas didn't have to worry about the chaos of alphas and omegas. They just existed. Safe, predictable, invisible in the best way. I liked it that way, until everything collapsed. My name is Kai Morales, and I'd built my life around discipline. I was a national-level taekwondo competitor, the kind who woke at 5 a.m. to train, stretch every joint until it protested, and follow a strict regimen that left no room for excuses. My plan was simple: compete internationally, retire early, become a coach, marry a beta woman, and create the quiet life my parents never had. And then my body betrayed me. From the moment the referee signaled the start, a heat rose inside me. Not fear, not adrenaline, but something primal, uncontrollable. My chest burned, my muscles trembled, my heartbeat leapt as if it had a mind of its own. My vision blurred, the lights overhead snapping, too bright, too hot. And then I smelled him. Alpha pheromones. But unlike anything I'd encountered, sweet, intoxicating, suffocating. My knees buckled. I tried to steady myself, but the world tilted, and I collapsed before hundreds of spectators. The medics rushed in. I remember gripping my chest, gasping, trying to explain that something was wrong, that my body had changed overnight, but there were no words for it. The doctor's eyes widened as he checked my vitals. "This is, omega reaction," he murmured. Omega. The word hit me harder than any throw or chokehold ever had. 25 years, and my body had waited for this exact moment to manifest, a late-blooming omega. Everything I thought I knew about myself, the stability, the plan, the career, was gone. My coach told me I couldn't compete anymore. The risks were too high. My body wasn't stable enough. My dreams evaporated overnight. I spent days hiding from calls, from people, from myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know if I even existed outside of this biological betrayal. That's when I took the first job I could find, a position as a private security guard for the Hawthorne family. Old money, old influence, old rules. They wanted someone who could blend in, observe, and manage chaos without drawing attention. A beta would have been perfect. I wasn't one anymore, but no one needed to know. Their estate was massive. Black stone walls, towering iron gates, polished windows that mirrored the sky. Walking inside felt like stepping into a storm caged by luxury. The first person I met was the younger son, Lander Hawthorne. Sharp jaw, eyes like steel, and the kind of presence that made you know you weren't in charge. My introduction was brief. His nostrils flared just slightly as he studied me. "Your scent is unusual," he muttered, voice low, and then he walked away. My stomach twisted. Had he noticed? My suppressants, strong as they were supposed to hide everything. But alphas like Lander didn't miss things. A week later, I met his older brother, Roger Hawthorne. If Lander was storm, Roger was fire. Warm, magnetic, sharp, with a charm that made you think he already knew everything about you before you spoke. He smiled at me slowly, deliberately, and in that smile, I felt my defenses crack. "Ah, you must be the new guard. Kai, right?" "Yes, sir," I said, voice tight. "Good. I hope you'll be here for a long time," he said, his tone warm but probing, like he was measuring the very air around me. Both brothers were dangerous, but for different reasons. Lander's presence pressed against me like a storm waiting to break. Roger's warmth stirred something inside me I hadn't understood I had, and I was already fragile. I spent weeks navigating their attention, suppressants, and my own unstable body. The heat cycles, supposedly dormant, flickered now and then, reminding me that I wasn't beta anymore. And both Lander and Roger seemed to notice every subtle shift. Lander's gaze was often sharp, protective, territorial. Roger's was playful, curious, teasing, like he could smell the truth I tried so hard to hide. And me? I was terrified, because I knew my instincts weren't just betraying me biologically. They were pulling me toward them, toward danger, toward a bond I couldn't yet name. Every day I told myself to stay professional, to focus on the job, to remain just a guard. But each moment in their presence made that promise impossible to keep. My body remembered what it meant to be Omega, even as my mind begged for normalcy. And I realized nothing in my life would ever be normal again. The first weeks on the Hawthorne estate were a delicate balance of vigilance and self-control. Lander's eyes always lingered a little too long, assessing, testing. Roger, in contrast, moved through the rooms with effortless ease, his presence impossible to ignore, warm, magnetic, teasing. Together they formed a tension I couldn't escape, and my body, unstable and unwilling to lie anymore, reminded me daily that I was not the beta I'd once believed myself to be. I tried to blend in, to remain professional, to be just the guard who opened doors, checked the perimeter, and managed guests. But alphas, real alphas like Lander and Roger, didn't just notice. They sensed. They smelled. I realized I wasn't safe, not around either of them, and certainly not with my own instincts struggling against a lifetime of suppression. I was stationed near the grand staircase when I sensed her before I saw her. Vanessa Hawthorne, the matriarch, a female alpha, cold and commanding, with silver hair twisted into an impeccable chignon. Her eyes scanned the room like she owned the very air, and when they landed on me, my pulse spiked. "Kai Morales," she said smoothly, each word edged with authority. "You're the new guard." "Yes, ma'am," I replied, standing rigid. She stepped closer, studying me. There was a weight in her gaze, something sharp, intuitive, as if she could strip every secret from me without touching a finger. "You're interesting," she murmured. My stomach twisted. Before I could recover, Lander appeared behind her, jaw tight. "Mother, enough," he said. And there was fire in his tone, protective fire. "This isn't interrogation," Vanessa said lightly, lifting a brow. "I'm observing." Roger joined them, swirling a glass of champagne, eyes flicking between us like he was reading invisible lines in the air. "Is our mother intimidating you?" he asked playfully. "No, sir," I lied, my throat tight. Vanessa smirked, as if she could smell the deception. She leaned in, voice low. "Your scent is suppressed, artificial." Every nerve in my body froze. Before I could respond, Lander moved subtly in front of me, shielding. "Mother, enough," he snapped, his voice low, urgent, protective, territorial. Vanessa laughed softly, the sound dangerous, almost approving. "My sons have terrible poker faces," she said. "Both of them." Both of them. The words sent a chill down my spine. Lander's glare softened slightly, but only for a fraction. Roger's eyes glittered with amusement, curiosity, and something warmer. Then it hit me. My suppressants weren't enough. Surrounded by so many alphas, my body couldn't maintain control. Dizziness prickled at my skull. Heat fluttered low in my stomach.
The ache between my ribs began to pulse insistently. Lander's voice was sharp, protective. "Kai, you need to be careful tonight." I swallowed hard. "Why?" he said, jaw flexing. "Because your body is slipping, and with this many alphas—" He didn't finish. I didn't need him to. Roger stepped closer, his voice gentle, intimate. "You feel it, don't you? The tension, the heat, the way your body wants to respond." I tried to deny it. Tried to breathe, tried to stand taller, tried to remain professional, but it was futile. My Omega instincts were awakening, pulling at me with a force I had never known.
Lander clenched his fists, jaw tight, protective, furious, tense. Roger's hand brushed mine, not fully, but enough to send sparks along my nerves. Their eyes met, and I saw recognition there. Not rivalry, not challenge. Recognition. I stepped back. I should get back to work. "No," Lander cut in sharply. "You shouldn't." The room tilted around me. I could feel the air thick with alpha presence, with unspoken rules and instincts, and my body couldn't resist anymore. My legs quivered. My heart pounded like a drum. Roger's hand found my wrist, warm, grounding. "Kai, your body isn't safe here," he murmured. I'm not in heat," I whispered, panic rising. "No," Lander said, hand brushing the back of my neck in warning. "But you're slipping into preheat, fast." The room spun. My suppressants failed. My control failed. And for the first time since discovering I was an Omega, I admitted the truth aloud. "I'm scared." Lander exhaled, tension releasing. Roger's expression softened, something tender in the intensity of his gaze. And then I let go. My body shivered, trembled, and in that moment I understood. I wasn't just scared of my heat, I was scared of the pull of these men, of the intensity that both terrified and exhilarated me. But they were there. Lander's strength, Roger's warmth, both claiming, both protective, both mine. The last memory before darkness swallowed me was Lander's arms catching me, Roger's steadying hand holding mine, and the overwhelming truth that I couldn't hide from this anymore. I woke up in a guest room on the Hawthorne estate, Lander and Roger's presence lingering even though they weren't in the room. The memory of the gala, of my body betraying me, of their protective hands, it left me raw, exposed, and strangely safe. My heartbeat still raced. My breath came in shallow, uneven bursts. I had crossed a line, both physically and emotionally, but I couldn't regret it. Not entirely. There was a pull I didn't understand, a need for connection I had suppressed my whole life. When I stepped out into the hall, they were there, Lander leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Roger beside him, leaning casually, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Their combined alpha energy hit me instantly, overpowering, grounding, impossible to ignore. "Feel better?" Roger asked, voice warm, teasing, but with an edge that warned me he could see right through me. I swallowed hard, embarrassed. I think so." Lander didn't smile. His gaze was steady, intense. "You were close to slipping completely. You need to trust us if this happens again." I nodded, chest tight. The reality of my new life as an Omega, no longer able to control my instincts fully, pressed down on me. I had no choice but to rely on them. Over the next few days, our dynamic shifted. Lander became even more territorial, shadowing me during shifts, his eyes constantly assessing, judging, protecting. Roger, in contrast, sought proximity in quieter, more intimate ways. Light touches on my arm, lingering glances, soft words meant to soothe. Together they created a constant tension between restraint and desire, between safety and intensity. It was exhausting, and yet necessary. One evening, Roger approached me in the training room, where I had come to clear my head.
"You can't keep pretending," he said, voice low, almost a whisper. "Your body is reacting. You feel everything. You're not a beta, Kai. Not anymore." I clenched my fists. "I don't want to be an omega. I don't want this need." "You don't get to choose how your body works," he replied softly, stepping closer. "But you can choose how you handle it." Before I could respond, Lander appeared, silent as a shadow, close enough that I could feel his presence behind me, protective, demanding. "And if you don't?" he said. I didn't answer. My resolve crumbled. Their combined presence was too much. My omega instinct surged, overwhelming rational thought. I was theirs, whether I wanted to admit it or not. That night, they guided me through my first full heat in their care. It was terrifying, exhausting, and unlike anything I had experienced, but it was also transformative. For the first time, I realized that surrender didn't mean weakness. Surrender meant trust, and for the first time in my life, I felt safe letting someone in completely. Afterward, as I lay between them, the intensity faded into something calmer, warmer. Lander's hand brushed my hair, rough and protective. Roger's thumb traced soothing patterns along my wrist. Together they grounded me. Together they made this chaos feel manageable. A week later, the conversation that would change everything happened. We were in the study, the fire crackling softly. I still struggled to regain composure, the rawness of my heat lingering. "I don't want to hide this, Roger. I don't want to hide this anymore. Kai, you belong to both of us, if you want to."
Lander's eyes met mine, serious, unwavering. "We're not asking for half of you. We're asking for all of you, and we'll protect every part." I swallowed, heart hammering. The idea was terrifying. Polyamory? A shared relationship? I had never imagined this. But the way they looked at me, the way their presence filled the room left no doubt in my mind. They weren't asking. They were claiming. And I didn't resist. I don't know if I can," I whispered. "You can," Lander said simply. "We'll teach you. We'll guide you. And we won't leave you." That night marked the beginning of our unconventional bond. Days bled into nights filled with quiet touches, whispered reassurances, and growing intimacy. My heat cycles became more predictable, more manageable, because I no longer tried to fight them alone. Lander's intensity, balanced by Roger's warmth, gave me a rhythm I had never known. Lives settled into a fragile paradise for 3 weeks. We trained, patrolled the estate, shared meals, and navigated the unspoken complexities of living together. It was strange, chaotic, and beautiful. And then it shattered. I woke one morning with nausea so severe it nearly floored me. Panic clawed at my chest. Something was wrong. I couldn't focus, couldn't breathe, couldn't think beyond the tight, sick feeling in my stomach. The test confirmed my fear. I was 6 weeks pregnant, with twins. My last heat cycle had been intense, and the implications hit me like a thunderclap. Both Lander and Roger could have been the fathers. The twins could be theirs, or one each, or both. Fear consumed me, overwhelming, suffocating fear. I couldn't handle the judgment, the expectations, the scrutiny. I couldn't imagine staying, not with them, not with the Hawthorne estate, not with the responsibility pressing down before I'd even had a chance to breathe. I fled. I left in the dead of night, driving to Chicago, leaving a note I hoped would be enough to explain, yet too brief to truly convey my panic. I needed space. I needed to figure out how to exist with this new reality alone. But even miles away, their presence haunted me. Lander's protective glare, Roger's teasing warmth. I couldn't escape them. And as the days passed, as the reality of pregnancy set in, I realized I didn't want to. 2 months passed in Chicago. I lived in a small apartment, surrounded by the hum of traffic and the anonymity of the city. Yet nothing could silence the pounding of my own heartbeat whenever I thought of Lander and Roger. The nausea had eased, but the weight of carrying twins alone was relentless. Every moment reminded me that I had fled not out of anger or betrayal, but out of fear. And they found me. It was early evening when there was a knock at my door. My pulse raced. Through the peephole, I saw them. Lander, rigid, intense, exuding a protective aura even from this distance, and Roger, calm, composed, but with that playful, dangerous edge in his eyes. "Kai," Roger said softly, voice carrying warmth and certainty, "we're not leaving you." Lander didn't speak. He simply stepped inside, scanning the room as if claiming it by sheer presence. My knees weakened, but I refused to show it. Why did you find me?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "Because we don't give up on family," he said simply, "and you're ours." Roger took a step closer, his hand brushing mine. "We know it's a lot. Twins, a pregnancy. We're not asking you to make everything perfect right now, but we want to be part of this, all of it." I shook my head. I can't do this alone. I thought I could, but my voice cracked. The fear, the isolation, the overwhelming reality of the pregnancy, I couldn't hold it in any longer. "You won't have to," Lander said, his tone gentle for the first time in my memory. "Not ever, not if you don't want to." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. I returned to the Hawthorne estate with them, navigating the reality of a polyamorous household. There were arguments, adjustments, and intense discussions about boundaries and expectations. But there was also laughter, warmth, and love. The pregnancy progressed, and with each passing day, I felt their support more deeply. Lander's protectiveness became a comfort rather than an intimidation. Roger's attentiveness and calm reassured me when panic threatened to consume me. Together, they were a balance I hadn't realized I needed, a foundation I could finally trust. One evening, sitting in the nursery we had prepared, I felt their hands on mine, Lander on my left, firm and grounding, Roger on my right, warm and soothing. "You ready for this?" Roger asked, a teasing smirk in his voice. I took a deep breath, feeling the life growing inside me, the twins moving, stretching, alive and strong. "I think I'm ready," I whispered. Lander leaned close, resting his forehead against mine. "We'll be ready too, together." When the day came, it was both terrifying and miraculous. I gave birth to a boy and a girl, Leo and Isla. Their cries filled the room, vibrant and full of life. Lander held my hand, guiding me, protective and unyielding. Roger stayed close, whispering encouragement, calm and tender. It was chaotic, beautiful, overwhelming. As the twins were placed in my arms, I felt an indescribable connection, an unbreakable bond that stretched across all three of us. Lander kissed my forehead, then Roger, and then me again, each touch grounding and affirming. This is our family," Lander murmured. "Not traditional, not simple, but ours." I nodded, tears streaming down my face. I never thought I could feel like this. Roger smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "You've been ours all along, Kai. We just had to make it real." Days turned into weeks. We settled into a routine that defied expectations, yet felt natural. Lander and Roger alternated caring for the twins, managing the estate, and ensuring that I had space to recover and adjust. Every touch, every whispered word, every shared glance reinforced our bond. The fear and uncertainty that had driven me to run were replaced by trust and love. I realized that family isn't just about bloodlines or societal norms. It's about connection, commitment, and choosing to stay even when life is unpredictable. At night, as the twins slept in their cribs, I would lie between Lander and Roger, feeling their warmth, their heartbeat, their steady presence. The chaos of my late manifesting Omega identity, the fear of losing myself, and the overwhelming intensity of my heat cycles, all of it had led to this moment, a moment where I was no longer afraid, A moment where I belonged, and a moment where love, in all its unconventional forms, had found me. And in the soft glow of the nursery, with Leo and Isla breathing peacefully in my arms, I finally understood the truth. Identity, family, and love aren't about fitting into a mold. They're about finding the people who claim you, protect you, and love you exactly as you are. And I was finally home.
If you enjoyed the story, please comment, like, and subscribe so you'll get notified when part 2 comes out.